Robert.
And I now call the Cranston City Council meeting for May 2011 to order. Just want to remind everyone to either put your communication devices on vibrate or off. I'll call this to order and ask the clerk to please take the roll.
Present.
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 Present. Present. Present.
Present. At this time, I'd like Tom Barbieri, E.J. Howe, and Bob DeCosta to stand, along with the rest of the council members, and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. You're leading, so anytime you want to stop. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the last meeting.
So moved. Second.
The motion and the second. Any discussion? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. At this time, I would like to read briefly or paraphrase from a proclamation. Proclamation of the City of Cranston honoring Thomas Barbieri. Be it resolved that Thomas Barbieri was selected as Rhode Island Middle School Principal of the Year on April 20, 2011 by the Rhode Island Association of School Principals. And whereas Thomas is married to Charlene, who is joining him this evening, and the proud parents of Thomas Jr. and Madeline, and also the son of Anthony and Madeline Barbieri, and son-in-law to Joseph and Lucille DeCenzo. Whereas Thomas has been a resident of the City of Cranston for the past 11 years and volunteered as a CLCF baseball coach for 6 years and was named Coach of the Year in 2009. Thomas has been a highly respected educator in the Cranston Public Schools for over 20 years, teaching at Bain, Cranston East, Cranston High School West. He served as assistant principal at UB Bain and Cranston West and has been principal of UB Bain since 2003. Bain has gone through some very trying times prior to Tom being there, but they've been recognized as a high-performing school, and they met all their AYPs for 5 consecutive years. Under his guidance, Bain Middle School has been active in supporting the community through fundraising events, and there's a whole list of those. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Cranston City Council does hereby recognize, honor, and congratulate Thomas Barbieri for his commitment and service to the Cranston Public Schools, its students, faculty, and administration, and on his selection as Rhode Island's Middle School Principal of the Year by the Rhode Island Association of School Principals on April 20, 2011. We hereby set our hands and seal this 23rd day of May 2011, signed by the entire council.
Chairman Lupino, thank you very much for recognized greatness in Cranston, and I'm honored as principal at Bain Middle School and a member of our valued community here to be bringing this award back to our community in recognition. I accept this award only on behalf of a community effort here. This award is not about any one person. This award is about a dedicated staff a community that has come together, that has demonstrated what a school could do in any kind of situation. While we understand that we're never satisfied where we are right now, and we do strive to get better, we are definitely a model, not only in our community, but within our state, about what public schools could actually do within the community. And it's just much more than education. And I invite everybody to come to Bain, to take a look at some of the greatness that goes on there, and spread whatever they learn there to the rest of their community. I'm also honored to have with me my wife here today. A strong family has definitely made me a stronger person. I'm very happy to be a resident here in Cranston, very happy to be coaching here in Cranston, and I'm even more honored that I am principal of one of the finest schools, not only in the state, but in the country, Bain Middle School. Thank you.
Tom, in your modesty, it does require a team of people to do what you accomplish, but it's a special person that actually puts it together and holds it together. So you were the glue in all of that. So, you know, the state has found out what Cranston's known for a long time about your abilities and your performance. Thank you. Next, Majority Leader Navarro.
Thank you, Councilman Lupino. I have a citation here to present today, and it's the Cranston National Budlong Little League, and I would like to have KJ Howe and Bob DaCosta. We have the president and the vice president, as well as the Howe family. If you can just, stand up for being here tonight. Before I present the citation, I do want to just, say a little bit about this league. Cranston National Budlong just celebrated its 50th anniversary, and this is a league that's very dear to my heart. I was president of that league for 4 years, and it's one of the reasons why I'm probably here today, is it sparks some interest in what Volunteer does, and it's really also thankless as far as taking care of those fields and doing everything, but the enjoyment that we get out of it to help the kids, it's unbelievable. Just one of the things about this league, there was rumors this past year that this league was going to be dissolved, that there was no longer a volunteer base running this league, and there was rumors of mergers, and I say rumors because as soon as the word got out there that there might be this possibility of this league no longer being, and coincidence, on its 50th year anniversary, this gentleman here, KJ Howe, stepped up to be at the helm and volunteered his time and became president of the league. And we also have Vice President Bob DaCosta, who's been associated and been involved with the league for over 30 years. And with these two efforts, with them two bringing up the volunteer base, doing what they had to do, they turned that league around where they was just struggling to have a couple, maybe 100 players. They've got it over 200 players. The field looks unbelievable with the work of the city. Parks and Recreation, the concession stand has been refaced, new dugouts. They expanded the dugouts. The fields look unbelievable, and just what they've done down there has been incredible. And I just want to congratulate them for their efforts, because these are the true people in Cranston that are public servants that volunteer their time day in and day out, and they do it for our sons and daughters, and they make a safe place to have fun, fellowship within the community. So I really want to thank them for that. And here tonight, I want to present them with Be It Known, the City of Cranston, be it known to all that the Cranston City Council hereby issues this congratulatory citation to Cranston National Budlong Little League on the occasion of their 50th year anniversary. Help me give them a nice round of applause. KJ, if you want to say a couple of words, you may.
I first would just like to say thank you to Councilman Navarro. The league, you know, it's only as strong as its members and the people in our district. And it's been truly an honor to take a league that was sadly on the verge of collapse and bring it back. And it's to a great dedication and great advice from a past president that's helped me work with the board and Bob and bring this league back to the 200 kids that we have. And, you know, it's going to be a lot of work, a lot of aspirin, a lot of Advil, but I'm fun, so I thank you.
I know I won't be here, but maybe your sons will be here for the 100th anniversary. Are there any other public acknowledgements or commendations? There being none, we'll move on to public hearings. Are there any members of the public who'd like to speak on any docketed items? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record. This is on docketed items.
Mr. President, Paul Valletta representing the Cranston Firefighters, Local 1363. Prior to the February 28th meeting, City Council meeting, the firefighters were notified that outside legal counsel had been hired to do some grievances for the city. I came to the February 28th council meeting, which was chaired by Vice President Pelletier that night, and I asked if, according to the docket that evening, under executive communications, we would be hearing what the fee is for this outside legal counsel under the Charter Section 1505. The Director of Administration at the time of the executive communications rose and said that she didn't have to give that hourly fee to you of the outside legal counsel based on two criteria. The first being that the outside legal counsel had done work for the city prior to being hired, so he wasn't a new hiree. And the other reason was that because it had to do with a grievance, the reason that is always used now when someone doesn't want to talk about a particular thing going on in the city is it had to be done in executive session. Well, if you look at the city charter under the powers and duties of the city solicitor, which I told you about that night. So what I did is I copied it. I copied it for all the council people to look at tonight while I'm speaking, and I'd like to pass this out. I'll just wait till you get that. Thank you. Do you need one more? I can give it to you when I'm done with it. Okay. Under Section 8.02 of the City Charter, powers and the duties of the city solicitor, if you go down to the last sentence where I marked it, the city solicitor shall represent the city in all actions. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but that includes grievances, as you can see what the city solicitor represents the city in. It says the person shall, the solicitor shall. It doesn't say may, it said shall. Now, we have a city solicitor, and on the website we have 5 assistant solicitors. So my question to this council is, and I probably should have did it at budget session, but I didn't want to throw a political ranking into the budget session when you were discussing the law department. But our opinion is if you have a city solicitor and 5 assistant solicitors, I'm sure they're very qualified to handle the business of the city, and the fee of outside legal counsel seems to be going up as our grievances go up. So that language is very clear in that section under the duties of the city solicitor. They shall represent the city. If you go to the second page, and this is the issue of what I speak to tonight. Under Section 1505 of the City Charter, employment of special counsel, experts, and consultants, and then you go to the City Council docket, which I'm sure you all have before you, that charter section is under executive communications. Now, if you read the first section of Section 1505, whenever the city solicitor or head of any other department finds it necessary to employ special counsel, which the outside legal counsel is, we're not saying that the mayor and the solicitor can't hire outside legal counsel. We're not saying that at all. All we're saying is, if you read this language, it's very clear that any time the city hires an outside counsel, consultant, engineer, or anything else for a particular case, they have to come to a regular council meeting, and that's in this language too. Doesn't say executive session. They have to come to a regular council meeting, and they have to give what the hourly rate is for that outside legal counsel for that case. That is all we're asking. We're not asking you not to hire outside legal counsel. We're not asking you to settle the grievances we have. We'll grieve them, and we'll win them like we always do. All I'm asking this council to do is to make the administration do exactly tonight what is in the city charter, which I asked you to do on February 28th when we found out legal counsel had been hired by the city for some grievances. Now, we have a couple more grievances that we've had to file since February 28th. We'd like those cases tonight in the executive communications under this section. We'd like also that those cases, we be told what the hourly rate is of the outside legal counsel, the hourly rate. That's all we're looking for. We want to know what the person hired to do these cases is getting an hourly rate, and that's right in the charter. Now, I know the Director of Administration and the administration doesn't have to listen to me tonight. They can ignore me. So what I'm asking someone from this council to do, if the Director of Administration gets up tonight and tells you for some reason she doesn't have to tell you this tonight, then I'm going to ask a city council person to get a ruling from the assistant city solicitor who's here, or their own counsel, or both, and tell me I'm wrong, and then I'll never bring this issue up again. But I think it's very clear in this language, in the city charter language, it's not the contract language, it's the city charter, that they have to do this. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else from the public on an agenda item? Once, twice? Okay. There being none, we'll close that portion. At our last meeting, we passed resolution number 2011-16 in recognition of May as Mental Health Month. I sponsored that, and this is on this evening just for housekeeping purposes that we had passed that. It was not on it didn't appear on the docket, but it was wouldn't have been in time for the month of May. Any discussion on that? Anyone had any question on that? Okay. Report of committees. Safety Services and License Committee. Councilman Santa Maria.
Thank you, Council President. Class B victualling alcoholic beverage license, new license above the cap, number 71, Chapel Restaurant LLC, DBA Chapel Grill. The committee has met and recommends approval.
There's a motion. There's a second. Any discussion? Just for clarification, how many over the cap are we at this point in time?
I believe
3 over, okay. And the cap is set by the Liquor Control Administration?
No, that is our own local cap. There's no state cap on those licenses.
And how old is the cap limit?
Is the question, when was that cap first implemented?
Yes.
I'd have to research that, Council President. I know the extension of it beyond the 68 was done several years back, approximately 2005, I would guess.
Council President?
Councilman Santa Maria.
Thank you. I believe in that equation, there's three either bankruptcies or closures of businesses that aren't using it, so we're at 68. I believe it's three.
Council Santa Maria, through the chair, is correct. We do have two that are being held because of bankruptcy proceedings, but we still are allowed to go over the cap per ordinance.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Clerk, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 Next is ordinance 4112, ordinance amendment of Title 10, Chapter 32 of the Code of the City of Cranston, 2005, entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Garden Hills Parkway and Garden Hills Drive. This is sponsored by the administration. I believe it's just a Scrivener's error. Committee has met, recommends approval.
So moved.
There's a motion. There's a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion? Councilman?
Council President Lupino, thank you. Just quickly, I'm not taking down my stop signs. We're removing the two stop sign ordinance that had not been deleted and leaving intact the three stop sign ordinance. And I happened to go through there the other day when it was busy, and there's definitely a need there, so.
Any further discussion? Clerk, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Is that complete safety services?
That's completion of safety services. Thank you, Council President.
Public Works Committee, Councilman Navarro.
Thank you. Public Works Committee, the chairman, vice chairman, you can handle this, right?
Okay.
You chaired that meeting?
Council, the majority leader was not available at that meeting, so I
You could,
manned the meeting.
yes.
It's okay? The Public Works Committee, 4th, 11th, 13, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent to convey an easement to Notoriani Realty, Inc. for use of city property representing a portion of Ware Avenue. This lease was amended by Councilman Stikos through the clerk, through the chair to the clerk. Maria, this made it a more green area, this amendment?
The revised easement description with the exhibits is included in your packet that was received from Assistant Solicitor Marcella.
So this was amended in committee, and the committee recommends approval.
I believe it wasn't recommended for approval. I think it was just passed on. Was that correct?
Oh, recommended without approval to the full council.
It was passed on without recommendation. Okay, is there a motion?
Second.
The motion is second. Discussion. Any discussion on this? There being none, clerk, please take the roll.
Yes.
Hold on a sec. Did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if what was the administration as far as the city solicitor? Was it a positive endorsement or a negative endorsement on this? I just wanted to just.
Yes, it was a positive endorsement on that.
Okay, I'd like to make a comment. I think I'm going to come down.
Council President Lupino.
As was discussed in the committee, one of the issues that we have, and I'm hoping that I see the attorneys here that represents the person asking for this easement. One of the issues we have is down the road of this is the lack of enforcement in the maintenance of these areas. So I can only ask that you promise city that are not being maintained. I mean, this early in the season where there are weeds and they're 3 or 4 feet tall already, there's, trash. I would hope that, that we're talking about, this is gonna be an improvement of that point. And we talked about it having a lot of, cars to repair and in and out traffic and all that, and the bank can have a fair amount of traffic, but I would hope that, you express to whomever's going to be the recipient of this, that they maintain the area in the future. And we can't compel you, I think we can fine you at some point, but, we're just gonna get the manpower out there to do that, so I hope that.
If I could just respond to the council president, first of all.
Go ahead. Attorney Kirschbaum.
Okay. After the committee meeting, I had the zoning solicitor, Stephen Marsala, draft an exhibit, which is to the grant of easement. And that grant of easement states that the easement is subject to a right of reversion to the city in the event that the grantee, meaning the tenant, fails to install and maintain landscaping material consistent with the plan as set forth in site plan review. So those comments were set at the committee level, and I just want to make sure the committee understands that they were inserted by Solicitor Marsala.
Any other discussion? Clerk, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Anything else from Public Works? Councilman Santa Maria?
No, Council President.
Okay, Finance Committee, Vice President Pelletier.
Thank you, Council President. Finance Committee met and we passed the following ordinance: 3-11-7, ordinance amendment of Chapter 3-3.12 of the Code of City of Cranston, 2005, entitled Tax Generally, Tax Bill Recycling Notice. It was amended in committee on 5/12/2011.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilman Stichels.
Yeah, we did amend this, and unfortunately, the amended version is not in front of us. So I'd like to offer the same amendment that I offered in committee that passed and the purpose for everyone else, the purpose of this amendment is to give the administration wide berth in determining the form of this information. So the amendment would be striking the words in line 24, and 25, striking the words on where to access information explaining which materials should be recycled and the environmental and economic benefits of. Striking those words and replacing them with one word, the word encouraging, and then also striking in line 26 the words all motor vehicle, and not replacing them with anything. So I'll move that amendment.
Second.
So motion and a second. Any discussion on the amendment?
Do people want this explained, or have we heard enough about this already?
We're good, Steve.
Councilman Favicchio.
Thank you, Council President. Just one comment, because one of our constituents asked a question as we came into the in here tonight. This would be at no cost to the city. That's part of this, I would assume, that
Right.
remainder of that paragraph said that nothing in this bill mandates the city spend any additional funds to distribute the information. So that was a question that one of the people had asked, and I just wanted to make sure they understood that.
Yes.
Okay, there being no further discussion on the amendment, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And now on the ordinance as amended. Any other discussion? There being none, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Council President. Resolution authorizing tax interest waiver approvals. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing real estate intangible tax abatements. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
The motion and a second.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Take the roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing motor vehicle tax abatements. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
The motion, can I get a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Council President, we also entertained a resolution urging the congressional delegation to approve of the continuation of funding of a community services block grant.
That was voted positively.
Positive endorsement by the Finance Committee.
Entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Clerk, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Anything else on the finance?
Nothing further on finance, Council President.
Claims Committee, Councilman Stichels.
These are the claims that have been approved by the Claims Committee and have been accepted by the different claimants. So don't vote no, because it's all over.
Is there a motion?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, please take the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we're on public hearings. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak on any undocketed items? Please approach the podium and state your name and address. And
Jerry Trombetti, Laurel Avenue, Cranston. I've been a resident here for 50 years. And I reject the tax increase, and I speak for others, because it's a difficult time where your gas prices are going up, your oil prices for home heating oil is going up, everything is going up. So it's not a proper time to raise taxes. This is the wrong time to raise taxes. You have to reconsider. There's people that live on fixed incomes. There's people that are out of work, the elderly. You have to combine this together. You just can't make it easy for yourselves and sit down and say, well, let's give it to the people and let's raise taxes. Anybody can do that. The thing is to find a solution. Find the solution of the problem. I can think of a lot of things, but I'll be here all night, okay? And when you find that solution, then you go from there. But don't keep on taking it from the people. It seems like I hear this every year, tax increase, tax increase. It's the highest paid taxes in the state of Rhode Island. We're not in Newport, Rhode Island. We're not in Jamestown. We're not in Bristol. We're in Cranston. And by the way, this city is going downhill as I speak. It's running down, okay? And I thank Mr. Councilman Navarro, Councilman Paul Arquette, and there was one more Italian lady there. Mr. Richard Santa Maria for doing a good job and trying to avoid this tax increase. That's all I got to say. I hope you reject it. Thank you.
Now, is that?
Anyone else from the public who wishes to speak on an undocketed item?
My name is Leonora Costello. I live at 1590 Plainfield Circle in Cranston, Rhode Island, 02920. I'm here because I need to speak to my councilman, and he will not return my calls.
Now, hold on, before you continue speaking.
Yes.
Okay?
I love you. I
believe-
always love your direction.
But I believe someone asked this question the last time you came before us.
I did not.
If you let me continue, I will tell you what we asked you. At that point in time, we asked you if there was any claim against the city regarding what you had come to speak to us about. You responded no. In the interim, we found out that there is.
That was after the fact.
So I'm going to have the solicitor direct his.
Hold on.
Hold on one second.
If you don't mind, let me go first. Mrs. Costello, from what I understand, you filed a claim against the city for flood damage to your property, okay? The reason why your councilman didn't call you back is that he is on the claims committee, and he is ethically barred from talking to you about a claim that he may decide one day. So I know you may view this as a slight against you, but him not talking to you now was on my advice, and he's a very good councilman, and, to come public like that and say something.
I'm not putting his work down.
It's not really right. I can't disclose to you what was said in executive session, but, your claim is being reviewed, and when the appropriate time, when the evidence we have is in, we'll render a decision on your claim, and then at that point, Mr. Santa Maria can discuss
Okay, well, I
non-privileged
appreciate that information.
So I don't want you to feel.
I'm sorry that I had to miss Mike.
Let him speak. Let him speak. Then you'll have your chance to speak.
Okay. I'm sorry that you feel that somehow he's not performing his service as a councilman, but I assure you that he is.
No, you're putting words in my mouth.
Okay. Well, you started off by saying I've tried to call my councilman and
Yeah.
he won't call me back. I sure well know, and he well knows what you want to talk about, and he cannot talk to you about a claim that's in executive session. So I don't want you to come here to view that as him not doing his job, because that's exactly.
You're putting words in my mouth.
Okay. Well, that was the impression that I got, and probably the council got, but I just want to make sure that that's not the case.
So, you may continue, but what is your issue?
My issue was I needed to get communication from the city of Cranston. Mr. Santa Maria being the public representative, that's all I needed to know was why was he not returning my calls? I usually call him once a month, maybe twice a month. I felt like I was harassing him. Now I know why he's not calling me, because he's involved with the claims committee. Prior to now, I did not know this. It's very inconvenient that I had to spend my Monday evening coming here just so I could find out why my councilman could not contact me. I spoke to Anna in the law department, and she told me there was no reason why Richard couldn't communicate with me. So I was wondering what was going on. Now I find out. Unfortunately, it's on my dime, and I missed a very important engagement tonight to come here to find that out. Now, why didn't somebody tell me that? Why did I have to come here to find that out?
Well, understand, you filed a claim.
I filed a claim
The claim.
because I was told to.
And the Claims Committee meets on the first Monday of every month unless the Monday's a holiday.
So
So
what's the
that-
point? The
that would
point
be-
is, I needed to know why Richard wasn't calling me. Do I have anybody to liaison between ourselves, my husband and I, in the city without having to call Richard?
Yes, the claims clerk and
Okay.
the Claims Committee is.
Could you
open.
write that down for me?
You can get that information from the clerk at the end of the meeting. The other venue you have is the Claims Committee meets on the first Monday of the month, unless that Monday is a holiday. And Mr. Stikos is the chairman of that committee. He opens the session in open session here.
Yeah, you know,
At 6 o'clock on a Monday.
is that a public thing? Is that something I should attend, or I could attend? Because what I was really concerned about with Mr.
This is-
Santa Maria is
Okay.
that he has history on this, and I was
We've given-
hoping that he was going to put his input. Now I know that, which makes me feel a lot better.
Good.
The other issue is, we didn't really want to sue the city or put in a claim against the city. We had asked the city to negotiate for us, to represent us as citizens of the city between the city and Veolia. We don't want to sue the city. We're trying to get the city to negotiate and do their job to have Veolia do whatever they need to do to keep their sewage under control. This is not something that we planned, a claim against the city. We wanted this negotiated. Mr. Santa Maria promised me all through 2010 to be patient and that this would work out. And then we found out at the end of December that Veolia was done. We're still paying $125 storage per month. And every month it's like an open sore. And every first of the month we have to put out more money, and we can't put our stuff in the basement. So I didn't really come here to talk about the claim. I came here to figure out who's going to communicate with me whilst this process is going on, because it can take anywhere from 2 months to God knows what. Now I know what happened to Richard. I didn't know this prior to tonight. So that's about it. Richard, did you have something to say? I saw your hand up.
I don't know if can I ask something, or do you want to leave this to public?
Point of order.
It's really public.
Point of order.
This is for, I know you mentioned his name. I've never known the councilman to not get back to anyone unless
Okay.
that person happened to be involved in a claim, and to communicate with
Okay.
that person would violate the trust of the.
Okay, so there will be a liaison that the city
No.
clerk will know about?
You have a claim with the city. You call
Mm-hmm.
the claims department, they will give you an update on your claim.
Okay, well, when
If
I
you-
phoned
if you-
Anna in the
if you
law
don't-
department, she said no. I
You
just
don't-
have to wait.
If you don't like what she tells you on the phone, you can bring it up at the Claims Committee on the first Monday of the month.
That's open session to the public?
It begins in open session, the claims are discussed in closed session because it could involve potential litigation through the open.
So when
meeting.
is the next one? I know you mentioned a holiday. I don't listen too well to I've gotten too, after I see the way some people listen in here,
First Monday to the public.
I don't listen too good to what's coming from this end. So I'll go on the internet or something. I'll check it out. Thank you. You've taught me to talk into the mic, though.
June 6th. Council President, June 6th.
June 6th. Anyone else from the public on an undocketed item?
Dick Tomlin's 400 Farmington Avenue. Before I begin on something that I was going to do previously, I'd make a couple of other comments. It always amazes me when we do the pledge allegiance to the flag and we say justice for all. We ought to look that up in the dictionary and see what that really means. I don't think we're practicing it, not for all. Now, also, I want to make a comment on, you can come here and get very discouraged and depressed, but two of my loves of my life is one education and the other is working with youth. And it was very impressive tonight to have those two gentlemen, or three gentlemen, get the citations, the two that work in Budlong and the principal. I think that just underlines where we are as a city, and we all should be proud of that. Also, I'd like to make a comment on Paul Valletta's comment. I think he was kind of polite, maybe so because of who he represents. But I've always been for more open government and less expenses. I've spoken before about the fact that some of these claims that settled in the back room and the public has no knowledge of them. Some of them because of the pending litigation, I understand, but there's others that could be brought into the public arena. Also, I've spoken about the streets, that we have to keep that a secret right up to the very end as to what street is going to be paved. So what I'm saying is we got to have more open government and we got to spend less. So I back up his comments 100%. I've written an ode to the death of democracy. And I wasn't going to read it except several things have happened lately that gives me more impetus to do so. First of all, the Vice President's article in the paper where he was defending his vote. Let it be clear that a vote was vote for taxes, period. Whether you all voted against the mayor's budget and it became the budget anyway, then that's his tax increase, not yours. You made it yours. So what you wrote, I hope you thought it through before you wrote it, because if you did, then I'd think worse. I hope it was just a mistake. The other is that the president made no amendments all during the budget process. I've attended these meetings now for 12 years. It has never been that the president hasn't made an amendment to the budget. That's pretty sad also. Also, there's been some comments, Councilman Michael made them about, and I don't know if he just thought of it that night or he was asked to say that about you were just all voting in unison against. Well, obviously they didn't. We had a discussion about that, but you forgot to add, you voted in unison. There wasn't one Republican that come up with any kind of amendment that had any impact on the budget at all. A lot of conversation. The conversation comes from the back room. I could have written your script for you. That's sad also. So with all that, one other thing, the mayor's latest plea for a charter school. What he's saying, if you read between the lines, our schools aren't doing as well as they could, so let's get a charter school for more competition. He still wants that plaque in perpetuity. You can't spend more money when you don't have it. You can't divide the school system when you don't have the money to do it. That's what, whether that's a good idea for the future or not, is not pertinent to today. It's amazing to me that that would still be in the newspaper. What I wrote is this: the death to democracy.
You have about 30 seconds.
Well, I'll finish it, regardless of what you say. I'm just getting started. I'm not going to be held to that plan. You're held to that plan. This lady spoke a lot longer than I did. I know why you're trying to cut me off, and I'm going to speak up every time you try to do it. I'm a citizen of this city. I'm one of the few that gets up here and takes the citizen's part in any one of these because I'm right and they're right. Here's the ode to the
Mr. Thomas,
death.
you've spoken for 4 minutes already.
Good.
Point of order. Council President Olmsted, Ms. Costello was up here for about 15 minutes. No, she was not. She was up for 7.
Council President, in good faith, could we give him a couple more minutes?
Sure.
Point of order. We did that at finance hearings, and it turned out to be like an hour and a half of public comment.
You run finance.
Okay.
You could have stopped it.
All right. There doesn't seem to
I
be.
instituted a 4-minute rule, and you overrode me on it.
Well, I'm going to read it. If you
2 more
want
minutes.
An ode to the death of democracy. Here we are tonight to witness Cranston's answer to democracy, with no consideration to the citizens of Cranston. We have taken the path of reducing ourselves to no checks and balances. We now have before us a council with 2 Democrats turned Republican. The 6 Democrats members now are reduced to 4. That's not as it was before. So what does this mean to taxpayers all? We must wait till next year, but for now we must bear all. This amounts to our 8th straight tax increase, and please don't forget the vehicle tax that we are still all paying. What will happen to our poor elders who have seen themselves taken for a ride? Why aren't we on their side? What happens to all our libraries? Are we not caring about their lives? What about our students and their education? Are we to forget that they are our edification? Why can't we be fair to all? Without this, we will all fall. Let's get our conscience back and let's take the right track. We can't balance a budget on the backs of those who don't have organizational tax. Why can't we look in the mirror and say to each other, we must get back to fairness to all our brothers? Why don't you want to go? We don't want to go to that funeral hall, but you have forced us to be on call. May God give you the courage to do what you were elected for, to look out for one and all. Amen.
Anyone else in the public on a non-agenda item?
Valerie Shuley, 27 Farm Street. I just wanted to say and give you all good news. And our public school system is very good, and it continues to be very good. And I can say this because I just went to a West Point graduation that graduated 2 Cranston Public School students, Ryan Orsini and my daughter. So don't knock our public school system, keep it strong, and let's go.
And you should be at another graduation in another 2 years there also, I would assume. Good for you. Anyone else? There being none, we'll close that section. We are now under election of city officials.
Councilman Lupino, did we miss the mayor's mental health resolution? Did you miss that?
We passed it last month.
Oh, that was on the docket. That was on the...
Yeah. Councilman, it's just a housekeeping.
Yes. No, that was the proclamation. It wasn't the mayor's. It was just.
It was on. It's just listed on the resolutions. That's all I asked.
Yeah, it was voted on last month. Yes, it was voted on last month because
that was a meeting that showed up at like 9:30.
If we had waited until the end of the month, it would have been passed. Okay. We have a recommendation for an alternate to the Juvenile Hearing Board for Pamela T. Schiff. Is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
So motion is second. Any discussion? There being none, would the clerk please take the roll?
Yes.
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 Yes. Welcome to the Juvenile Hearing Board.
I promise I will be brief. I just want to say thank you very much to Vice President Pelletier for his trust and faith in me, and I hope to serve the city and this board to my greatest abilities. Thank you.
Okay. Next we have under Executive Communications. Oh, I'm sorry. Are there any reports of any city officers?
I have none.
Okay, there being none, Executive Communications.
First, let me start. Ms. Shuley was somewhat modest in speaking about her daughter. She just informed me tonight that her daughter, I believe, received at West Point the top nuclear engineering student at West Point. So I think that's worth noting. I would like to respond under Executive Communications to Mr. Valletta's comments, as well as the fact that I do have another attorney engagement to make you aware of. The protocol has been and has always been, when we engage a new attorney, when we sign a letter of engagement, the council is notified of that engagement. The attorney involved in the labor issues that Mr. Valletta is referencing is Mr. Augusta. The council is well aware. It has been reported that he is an attorney, a labor attorney for the city. It is no secret. It is very public. Additionally, Council President Lupino, I believe you had asked that we started putting the hourly rate on the bi-monthly reports. That has begun, so that is public, and it is out there for the council, and we're happy to answer any questions about that.
Okay, so you mentioned the protocol. Mr. Valletta mentioned the charter. So
The charter says we are to notify you when a new when we engage outside counsel.
at the meeting of the following meeting.
And
Once you
we do.
engage that person, the following meeting.
So, for example, tonight I'm going to announce to you that we have engaged labor attorney Jeff Castle to deal with a police matter. I believe 125 or 135 an hour. Yep. And once Council President specifically requested that hourly wage, we have been providing that on the sheets.
Yeah, I don't know if Mr. Valletta missed one meeting when I did ask for that, and I asked that be added. Also, the report is also a year-to-date compilation of legal fees.
Yes.
It's not only the monthly fees for that prior month, but it's a year-to-date for the fiscal year of what we spent
Yes.
for that particular.
For that attorney, his hourly wage is now included in there. And again, once we have a letter of engagement from the attorney, then at the next meeting, as of tonight, that I plan to inform you about Mr. Castle, that's how the protocol works.
Council.
Well, this is under executive
Yeah,
communication, so.
It's fine if they want to ask a question.
Did you want to have do you have a question? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, wait.
No, go ahead. You might as well ask her. She's up there now.
Through the chair to, I guess the solicitor, can we ask the school department how much they pay, or is that a separate?
We recently asked the school department for that number. Bob has been working to ascertain that figure.
So would that?
We don't always have an individual breakdown of each. They usually have 3 or 4 attorneys representing them. We don't always have a breakdown of that. Bob has been trying. Have you successfully?
Could we get the solicitor, opinion from the solicitor?
Well, Bob's been working on this.
I have put a request for communication and invoices for the attorneys that they hire on the hourly rate or if it's a retainer. The only information that I have now in terms of total dollars is what they spent, and the council asked for this on the Carullo action. I have all the documents on that. But their day-to-day operation, I'm going to need to get a breakdown from their business office.
How long you need, and could I get it for the next meeting or the meeting and a half?
I will push to get that for you for the next meeting.
To Council President, is that okay?
If that's what you request, I'll make it my point to get that for you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Councilman Stichels.
2 questions on this subject. One, following up on Richard's question, are you having any difficulty getting the information from the school department that you're seeking?
No, not at this time, no.
Okay.
I haven't really, with the budget session going on, Councilman, I'll be very honest with you, I didn't pursue it as much as I will be going forward now.
Okay, thank you. And the 2 other questions. One is that the report, I believe you said there was a bi-monthly
Yes.
report, and that would be public record once it's given to the council?
Portions of that are public record. Any details on exactly what the bill was for would probably not be because there's usually potential for litigation, but it might be briefly for labor dispute, Van Regusta, $100-some-odd. That certainly would be public. I defer to the solicitor on what would have to be redacted from that report for legal reasons. I'm sure Mr. Valletta would understand that. But as far as the rate, what we pay someone is certainly of public record.
And what are we paying Mr. Regusta? You said we were paying Mr. Castle.
Mr. Regusta, $135, $145 an hour. It's on your sheet from 2 months ago. I believe it's $135 or $145 an hour. Mr. retain his services, believe it or not. Labor is not inexpensive. And that's why there are times that we will look to settle grievances if possible, and there are times that we'll take the fight out there. But we always have to weigh the cost of the battle and the long-term cost for the city if we don't engage in that battle. Quite often, we are engaged in battles that are results of prior administrations. We've kept as many cases as we can in-house. Mr. Rawson has done huge amounts, I know, of our prosecution work and maintained an in-house presence. So we've been able to avoid a lot of labor costs. But the reality is that when we have to engage, we have to engage, and it's to protect the city.
Councilman Navarro?
Through the chair, just, I don't have any, usually we get the monthly report on the expenditures from.
Every other month, bi-monthly, every other month.
It's bi-month?
Yep, you got one last month. Anna produces them every other month for you.
When did that change? We used to get them every
It's
month.
been every other month for as long as I can remember.
We used to get them every month.
Well, since I've been back, it's been every other month.
Is there any difficulty in producing it every
I
month?
can just ask Anna to do that. That's fine.
No, I just thought, usually we get them, all right, Suzanne.
Okay, through the
fine.
council, through the administration, yes, every month.
It's not necessary. I mean, is it online?
No. Again, someone could request that information, but it's not something we would post, because again, that document itself also includes some specifics about what the billing was for, and that, we would have to go through that and redact certain items just to protect the city legally.
If I may, through the chair, what is our, what was our legal expense, outside legal expense for year-to-date?
I believe last year was budgeted at $250,000. We're a little bit over that because we had the 2 Bill of Rights hearings for the police officers that we had a termination on. Those were extraordinarily costly.
Do you have the year-to-date as of today?
As Robin stated, we budgeted $250 so far, we've spent $229 year-to-date.
Year-to-date. And then we budgeted, what, $200,000 for next year?
$300,000.
$300,000, that was in anticipation of Kinder?
Well, no, some of that was in anticipation of some pending litigation that we have. Some of it also was, as it was explained at the budget hearing that night, Mr. Cipriano will be leaving us. He fielded a huge number of our labor questions because he was a labor attorney. As the solicitor's office is readjusted, we may not have that in-house labor expertise, which means that those quick questions that we could save the money by asking Mr. Cipriano, we might have to engage in a 15-minute conversation with a labor attorney, and a 15-minute conversation with a labor attorney unfortunately costs money. So we just wanted to be sure that we had enough in there if we had issues.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it for me tonight.
You may want to stay there for a second, though. Under Council President Communications, I've got a couple of things. Just over a year and a half ago, former Councilman Aceto and myself started to look into, with some input from a couple of the solicitors, started looking into the issue of the nonprofits, and in particular Johnson & Wales University, with over 12 dormitories in the city of Cranston. The law is quite clear in allowing only 1 acre of tax-exempt properties used for educational purposes only. We had some discussions. Back on April 11th, the mayor wrote a letter to, I believe, the president of Johnson & Wales. I asked some questions of the mayor. He responded today saying that he had not formally received anything back from, I think it was Mr. Bowen? Mr. Bowen, is that the president? So I'd like to know when that meeting will be held.
Mayor, I believe it's scheduled to meet June 1st with Johnson and Wales, along with the tax assessor and the solicitor.
And that will be an open meeting?
No, that's a meeting with the mayor and the deputy solicitor.
And why wouldn't it be an open meeting?
This is an all administrative function, we would certainly meet with people. I mean, if you want to call it in for a public hearing at some point, the council's certainly welcome to. But this is an initial response meeting that the solicitor will be sitting on and will report back to the council.
But this started in the committee. This started in Public Works. This was an issue that came before us in Public Works, and I believe that, it should be aired publicly.
What I understand about the meeting, which will be held June 1st, is to have a discussion with the president of Johnson & Wales to find out what his view on the letter is. Certainly, no decisions will be made at that point.
Okay.
And obviously, there will be nothing done without the council's approval, ultimately, of course. And if you'd like, I can report back to the council as to what those discussions were. It might be necessitated by an executive session if there is some kind of an offer made or if there is some kind of a decision that we have to make at that point. But I view this first meeting as just a meeting to open the lines of communication, to let him know what our position is that you've articulated, and that is our position, and to get a feeling of what their position may be. And that's all.
Okay. As long as no decision is going to be made at that
I
meeting.
apologize for it. I didn't understand that that's what you were asking. This is a preliminary situation. Again, my apologies.
Next thing I had is an ongoing issue that impacts potentially some of the other issues that are going on in the city. This is particularly concerned around the development at Comstock and Situate Avenue in Cranston. Councilman Santa Maria has been brought into this by many of the residents there.
Yes.
I've been contacted by many of them. And in a communication that I copied to the council, made the statement that this impacts all of the pending situations we have right now, because this was a created situation. It's not like what we have in some of the established areas of Cranston, where we have commercial development going on right next to residential. This was created as such. And now what's happening is the residents are complaining about the commercial, and the commercial may or may not be adhering to what they want to adhere to. There are several proposals coming forward, particularly in Western Cranston, that would be impacted by this. I mean, this is like a test case. If we can't solve this, it's going to prejudice any of the future situations that are going on out there. So I'd like some kind of a timetable on what may be
Just
happening
briefly, if I may, the mayor also met with the executive board, I believe, of that condominium complex that's the most impacted. We do understand the problem. The building inspector has gone out, cited the owner for the bouncy house, because we have to cite the owner, not actually the tenant, but the owner has to be cited. So that has been done. The solicitor's office is researching now. One of the complications in this is it's not straight commercial. It's the question of what is allowable under the definition of farming. That makes this a much more complicated situation than many others with this commercial. The Department of Agriculture on the statewide level has given a lot of latitudes to farms in an effort to try to, in a good effort, to try to keep farming alive and well. So, for example, a place like Confreda Farm, in the original interpretations, they could only, to qualify for farming, sell things that were produced on their property. Produce it, you can sell it. But as time went on, what they were finding is those farm stands were selling some other things. The state has not had an issue with that. They have allowed it. They base it on a majority. Are you producing things that you are selling? The goal was to help the farm stay in business. What we are trying to research is, has this particular property found a loophole in the state law, or are they in violation of the state law? And that's what the solicitor's office is researching now, and we will keep you apprised as we get information. It's not a straight question of commercial. The question here is a definition of farming, and that's made it a much more complicated situation.
Another issue that came up, and I brought this up, and it was late in the season, so it kind of like got forgotten about, but there's let's call it a temporary, it's made out of plastic, it's a greenhouse there, that the ice cream parlor was using as an expansion of premises.
Yes.
I don't ever remember it going before the safety services for expansion of premises. They were also having music and movies there, and I don't ever remember them applying for an entertainment license. So what you have is someone's trying to create a little mini amusement park there. The residents, the adjoining residents were kind enough to go along with allowing them to turn it into a restaurant by selling clam cakes and doughboys and whatever else they sell there. And they've said we can live with that. We have central air conditioning, so the smell doesn't really bother us for the couple of months that's going on there. There's always going to be one that's going to complain, I'm sure. But now they say they're turning it into an amusement park, so.
As the season progresses, we will keep staying on top of it. The things that the solicitor's office determines are not even remotely, if there is a loophole, are not even remotely allowable, like the bouncy house. We will cite them immediately. The things that are in question, we're just going to have to continue to do the legal research. But we are absolutely in full agreement that this needs to be monitored, cited, and the solicitor has to continue to research the law.
And I would encourage any of the councilmen that want to sign on to it. I will be sending a similar letter to the zoning board because these other projects that are coming up, this is going to impact them. They're finding loopholes. Well, we need to find out where these loopholes are so we can address that before they get approved for these things.
And this is a state
I'm
law.
certainly not anti-business, but the businesses are not being good neighbors, and that hurts. If you want to go into an area that adjoins a residential area, at least be a good neighbor. That's all I have right now. Any council member communications? Councilman Santa Maria?
Thank you, Council President. I just have two. Going back to your easement question, the easement across the street from CVS on Atwood Avenue, where the old gas station was.
Yep.
I was wondering if we could send someone down to
Yes.
the people on Lodge and along Cranston Street.
Yeah, you had sent me an email on that. We will send someone over to make sure
There's a
that's.
few bushes and just needs to be trimmed, so we can keep that nice, hopefully get some business there. But
Yeah, that spot's a shame nothing's there.
also, through the council president to the solicitor, an update on the sewer tie-ins. We're going to have another executive session. Where are we with that? Obviously, you know I don't want this to be forgotten, so I keep reminding.
Well, even if you forgot it, I sure with my 87 emails a day, I'll never forget it. I was going to say the sewer issue is a very fluid situation, but I thought about it and I didn't know what I should say.
We're mushy.
What can I say about that? That is a situation that is constantly evolving. We are prepared to file our facilities plan upgrade with Rhode Island DEM whenever they want it. It is completed. We did our facilities plan premised upon the fact that the mayor got a call from the governor, former Governor Kucheri, as you all know, that the Rhode Island Resource Recovery Corporation was going to build a pipeline to the Narragansett Bay Commission. There have been recent overtures by Rhode Island Resource Recovery Corporation that they may want to stay in the city of Cranston. There was a high-level engineering meeting today, a technical meeting of only engineers to discuss what that would look like, what the cost would be for Rhode Island Resource to stay with Cranston. In other words, how much would it cost Rhode Island Resource to pay us to maintain this relationship? Nothing, of course, was decided upon in this meeting as I got the report, but there was an exchange of information about what their process is and what our process is to see if it makes sense on an economic level for both parties to stay married together with this particular project. So the good part is I feel like we have a very positive relationship with the Department of Environmental Management. I was on the phone with their attorney today, who granted us a 2-month extension on our facilities plan. I reported to her that it was ready to be filed, and I wanted it to be filed under the original deadline, even if they consider it to be a provisional report or a temporary report, until these issues with Rhode Island Resource are worked out. They understand that this is a very difficult situation that we're in, and I believe that if the engineers keep discussing this issue between the two parties and consultants, that we could come out with a favorable result at the end of it.
There was one other issue with the interjurisdictional agreement. We had set a time frame on that.
The city of Johnston remains completely non-responsive, showing no indication anyway as to whether or not they're going to accept the interjurisdictional agreement, whether or not they want to modify it, whether or not there's some language in it they object to. It's been a lot of one-way communications with Johnston. And sad to say that they have not responded one way or another to it. This was another topic that was discussed with the council at DEM today, and that remains an unresolved issue, unfortunately.
So did we start the fine clock? Have we started the fine clock? I mean, we had set a time frame on that.
Unfortunately,
December, I believe it was.
I'll check, but I don't think there's any fines that we can associate with this. The leverage that we had last time was to, I believe it was the Christmas Eve shut-off, was to send a letter to the town of Johnson letting them know that we're going to discontinue our services if they don't sign the interjurisdictional agreement. This is honestly been an ongoing source of frustration, and it's just...
Since we have no agreement, and since we've asked for the agreement, can the council come forward with an ordinance next month quadrupling the rates that we charge the town of Johnston, and started adhering to those immediately?
I wouldn't want to give an off-the-cuff answer to that, but I think the council in general sets rates to sewers, and I think the council in general can specify an out-of-town rate.
Okay, so I think the council would be in agreement that by the next Public Works meeting, you give us an other than off-the-cuff
I will.
Answer on that, and we'll have an ordinance ready in hand to adhere to at that point in time.
Council President, will we have to go into executive session, or can we just do that?
Whatever the solicitor requires at that time.
Well, I will research the specific question, and I'll provide the council with an opinion as to my result. From there, if it's the will of the council to present an ordinance, and we'll do it from there. We'll go from there.
Thank you, Council President.
Councilman Pelletier.
Thank you, Council President. To the administration, to the chair. Robin, last week, the mayor had come out and attacked the Cranston Public School System in the Cranston Herald. You're aware, and most of the public is now aware, that we had an executive session with the school department regarding some significant savings, monumental, as Frank Lombardi put it, savings. And the impression that was left on the school that the mayor snubbed their nose at this Cranston School Department. That's the intent that was left with everybody at the meeting at the Cranston School Committee meeting. Can we request the mayor strongly reconsider his position with the amount of monumental savings that the schools are coming up with for concessions and union contracts and other items that they have? Basically, what the school. I agree. But however, it's been the belief is that the mayor does not want to negotiate with the schools at all. And you knew that there has to be three bodies.
Hold on. You're asking, all due respect, you're asking the Director of Administration to answer for the mayor. And you represent administration, but particularly in this case, this is a mayoral function.
Correct.
The five entities in all of these agreements are the courts, the Auditor General, the council, the school committee, and the mayor himself. So,
But I would like to say this, I am designated speaker at these meetings to respond to the question of the mayor's piece on the charter schools. I would like to make it very clear, the mayor's piece on the charter schools and whatever you all discuss in executive session are not intertwined. And any implication or indication by the school committee at last week's meeting otherwise are unfair, unfounded, and unjust. And if those people were in the executive session, which I know two of them were, they know that the mayor was not there. The mayor has never said that you won't discuss things with the schools. The mayor sits down routinely with the schools. Bob Strong deals with their finances on an everyday basis. So any implication that the mayor is stuck in the schools and won't deal with them is unfair and unfounded. As far as the charter school piece, which I am comfortable commenting on from the standpoint of not, the mayor speaking on charter schools, I would love to have him. I think we'd be very happy to come and talk about that. I would like to remind this council that there is a charter school in this city already, the Lakers Charter School. The school department supports that, the school department and school committee support it well, mayor supports it, mayor has gone over and met the students and looked at their projects, the mayor is a supporter of charter schools. Why the mayor's particular version of charter school appears to be a snub when we have another charter school in the city that nobody seems to have a problem with is beyond comprehension to me. So any indication that the mayor does not believe in the public system, he simply is pointing out that there are alternatives. He believes in the public system, he believes in the public schools, and I would remind the council that this mayor in the past two budgets has proposed to give the schools over $3 million in increased funding. That's not a snub, that's taxpayer money. Then we heard a gentleman tonight talk about taxes. $3 million more in the past 2 years for the recommendation of the mayor with the support of this council has gone to the schools. So I'm glad you asked the question, you expanded the take issue with anybody indicating or implying at a school committee meeting that the mayor's.
All right, Robin, I wasn't implying anything that the mayor had anything to, but I'm talking as far as the negotiations between the administration, the city council, and the school committee. That's what I'm concerned about, because those are monumental savings that we all can share in if the mayor sits down and hear it.
Public comment on any potential savings or union negotiations or concessions, is that is an executive session situation. And again, whatever happened in that last executive session, it did not include the mayor as council president, so how he points out the parties include the mayor, the council, the courts. The mayor has not weighed in on that at this point. He was not involved in that executive session. The mayor was involved in the original decree.
Right.
But again, I want to emphasize, and I'm not targeting you, I know what happened at that school committee meeting. There's an effort to loop those discussions in with the charter school question. They are mutually exclusive issues.
anyone else from the council? Any communication? There being none? I'm sorry, Councilman Donahue, did you have your hand? Sorry. Okay, we'll proceed right to new business because there is no old business this evening. Will the clerk please read the new business into the record?
Proposed ordinance 05-11-1, an amendment of Title V of the Code of the City of Cranston, 2005, entitled Business Licenses. This has to do with increasing the tobacco license fee. This is sponsored by Councilman Stichels to be referred to Safety Services for hearing on June 6th. Proposed ordinance 5-11-2, an amendment of Title III of the Code of the City of Cranston, 2005, entitled Revenues and Finance. This has to do with the Board of Assessment, Tax Assessment Board of Review, the reduction in their compensation as was handled in the budget. This is to codify that change. This also was sponsored by Councilman Stichels to be referred to Finance Committee for hearing on June 16th. Proposed ordinance 5-11-3, an amendment of Chapter 2.8 of the Code of the City of Cranston, entitled City Departments. This has to do with a monthly reporting of the departments to the City Council at its regular monthly meeting. This is sponsored by Council President Lupino to be referred to the Ordinance Committee for hearing on June 16th. Proposed ordinance 5-11-4, an amendment of Chapter 5.68 of the Code of the City of Cranston, entitled Tobacco Dealers, the tobacco ban, pharmacy sale of tobacco. This is sponsored by Councilman Arquette and to be referred to the Ordinance Committee for a hearing on June 16th. Resolution requesting that the mayor conduct a traffic study on Perryville Road and Derbyshire Road for traffic calming measures, sponsored by Councilman Pelletier, to be referred to Public Works for hearing on June 16th. Resolution support of extended producer responsibility. This is sponsored by Councilman Stichels. Were you the sponsor of this resolution? Was it Councilman Navarro? All right, I'm sorry. It does say Councilman Navarro. I thought that was an error. Sponsored by Councilman Navarro to be referred to Public Works Committee for hearing on June 16th. I just thought it was when Councilman Stichels would sponsor. A resolution urging the governor to openly bid for debit card services used by the state of Rhode Island, sponsored by Councilman Stichels to be referred to Finance Committee for hearing on June 16th, 2011. Resolution establishing a homestead Tax Exemption Study Commission. This is sponsored by Councilman Arquette to be referred to the Finance Committee for hearing on June 16th. We have a joint poll location from National Grid for a joint poll with Grid and Verizon for Bateman Avenue to be referred to Public Works for hearing on June 16th. We also have a tax incentive application for a 5-year commercial tax incentive program from Dr. John A. Volpe and 1591 Cranston Street, LLC. This is to be referred to Finance Committee for hearing on June 16th. We have the following new claims. These are to be referred to the Claims Committee for hearing on Monday, June 6th at 6 p.m. A property damage claim to a motor vehicle allegedly due to a plowing incident on January 11th, 2011 from Ron Ferroli. A property damage claim to a mailbox allegedly due to snow plowing from Elaine Blumenberg for an incident on February 2011. A motor vehicle property damage claim allegedly due to a pothole of Scott Russo from an incident on March 27, 2011. A property damage claim allegedly result of a motor vehicle collision from a Mr. Vincent Meyer for an incident on April 30, 2011. A motor vehicle property damage claim allegedly the result of a motor vehicle collision on May 1, 2011 from a Dorothea Amato. And that is all I have.
Second.
Through the president to the legal counsel, I requested that there be a ordinance to do with the salaries for the Board of Canvassers to comply with what was done in the budget. And I don't see that here. Did you conclude that wasn't necessary, or? Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Clerk, please take the roll from referring to business.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Miscellaneous business on the clerk's desk, the conservation easement for 684 Natick Avenue. We're awaiting an executed copy. To the administration, what's the status of the easement document?
The Natural Resources Conservation Service Management has insisted that there needs to be a new appraisal done in order to pass papers. So we're waiting for that appraisal to be finished.
Okay. Do we have an anticipated date on that?
No, sir, I don't, but I will get it to you.
Okay, thank you. There being no more business before the council, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, Joe.
Means no for the time being, I guess.
I didn't think, yeah, I had